The rejection. The kitchen of Meridian Heights Hotel buzzed with pre-dinner chaos. Camille Foster wiped beads of sweat from her brow, focusing intently on the delicate plating before her. At 28, she was the youngest sous chef in the hotel's history, her nimble fingers creating edible artwork that drew gasps from even the most jaded diners. "Chef wants you," barked Jerome, a line cook with perpetual stubble and bloodshot eyes. "Owner's suite, now." Camille's stomach tightened. She'd been summoned by Vincent Hawthorne before, usually to prepare his infamous late-night tastings. The hotel magnate had a discerning palate and an intimidating presence that made even veteran chefs tremble. Their interactions had always been professional, until 3 months ago, when a bottle of rare Bordeaux and a thunderstorm had led to something more. She straightened her chef's coat and took the service elevator to the penthouse suite. Vincent opened the door himself, his tall frame silhouetted against the panoramic city view. At 42, he carried success like a bespoke suit, perfectly fitted and seemingly effortless. "Camille," his voice was smooth bourbon over ice. "Come in." She stepped inside, hands clasped before her. "Mr. Hawthorne." "Vincent," he corrected, pouring 2 glasses of mineral water. "We're surely past formalities." The memory of his hands on her skin flashed unbidden. They hadn't spoken of that night since. She'd convinced herself it was meaningless. A momentary weakness from a man who collected beautiful things and experiences with the same casual interest as his art collection. "I need to speak with you," she said, declining the offered glass. "It's important." Something in her tone made his expression sharpen. He gestured to the sofa, but she remained standing. "I'm pregnant," Camille said simply. The words hung between them like smoke. Vincent's face underwent a remarkable transformation. Surprise, calculation, then cool detachment. "I see." "It's yours," she added, though she hadn't planned to state the obvious. He laughed then, a short, dismissive sound that cut through her like a dull knife. "That's highly unlikely. I haven't been with anyone else. A convenient claim." He moved to his desk, creating distance. "What exactly do you want, Camille?" "Money!" The accusation burned. "I wanted you to know, that's all." "Well, now I know." His gaze flicked over her still flat stomach. "That's not my child. I suggest you look elsewhere for paternity and support." Camille felt her chef's training kick in, the ability to function through burns, through cuts, through exhaustion. "I don't want your money." "Good, because you won't get it." He checked his watch. "I have a meeting in 10 minutes. I trust you can see yourself out." She stood frozen, the enormity of his dismissal washing over her. "You really believe I'd lie about this?" "I believe people do extraordinary things for financial gain." His tone was almost sympathetic. "You're talented, Camille. Don't throw away your career over this situation." "Situation," she repeated, the word bitter on her tongue. "Handle it however you see fit, but leave me out of it." Something hardened inside Camille, a resolve crystallizing like sugar in heat. "I understand perfectly." Vincent's phone chimed. He glanced at it, already moving on. "I'm afraid I need to prepare for my meeting." "Of course." She turned to leave, then paused at the door. "You know, I created that blackberry souffle you love so much. The one you said reminded you of your childhood." A flicker of confusion crossed his face at the non-sequitur. "I just thought you should know what else I'm capable of creating." She smiled thinly. "Goodbye, Mr. Hawthorne." As the door closed behind her, Camille made 2 vows. Her child would never know rejection from a father who didn't want them, and Vincent Hawthorne would one day regret underestimating what she could become. By morning, she had cleared out her apartment and left her resignation letter on the executive chef's desk. Portland was only a 4-hour drive north, far enough to start fresh, close enough to remember. Rising from ashes. 5 years passed like turning pages in a well-worn cookbook, familiar yet transformative. Portland embraced Camille in ways Manhattan never had, its food scene less pretentious but no less passionate. She started small. Farmers markets, pop-ups, and eventually, Reverie, her intimate 20-seat restaurant hidden on a cobblestone side street. The world now knew her as Chef Mila, a culinary enigma who served exquisite 8-course experiences 3 nights a week. Her face never appeared in promotions. Her background remained purposefully vague. Critics raved about her emotional gastronomy, dishes that somehow evoked forgotten memories and untold stories. What they didn't know was that Camille's greatest creation wasn't on any menu. Theo, now 4.5, had inherited her copper curls and artistic temperament, along with something unmistakably not hers: Vincent Hawthorne's piercing amber eyes and determined jaw. "Mama, I made this for you!" Theo placed a misshapen dough ball on the counter of their apartment kitchen above the restaurant. Camille smiled, flour dusting her cheeks. "It's beautiful, my love. What is it?" "It's a dragon egg." His little fingers pressed indentations. "When it bakes, a dragon will hatch in our oven." "Then we better make sure it's perfect." She knelt beside him, guiding his hands. These quiet Sunday mornings were sacred, just the two of them creating together before her sous chef Dominic arrived to prep for the week. Her phone buzzed with an alert. Dominic had set up automated notifications for high-profile reservation requests. Camille's heart stuttered as she read the name: Hawthorne Hospitality Group. "Private dining request for 12. CEO Vincent Hawthorne hosting potential investors," the note read. "Thursday next week. Willing to pay premium for exclusivity." Dominic had added, "This would cover our new kitchen equipment. Should I confirm?" The wooden spoon in Camille's hand stilled. Vincent, the man who had dismissed her and their child with casual cruelty. "Mama, the egg is getting cold." Theo tugged at her apron. She forced a smile. "Sorry, Dragon Master. Let's get this in the oven." Later, after Theo was asleep amidst a fortress of stuffed animals, Camille sat at her tiny desk, staring at the reservation request. Her finger hovered over decline. What did she have to fear? Vincent wouldn't recognize her as Chef Mila. She never greeted guests. Her team handled front of house while she created in her sanctuary kitchen. He'd never even seen Theo. Yet something rebellious stirred within her. The same determination that had carried her through morning sickness during 16-hour shifts, through single-parent exhaustion while building her reputation from nothing. She typed, "Reservation confirmed. Menu will feature nostalgic American classics reimagined. Chef requests information on any childhood favorites of primary guest. Let him taste memories he didn't deserve to revisit." The week passed in meticulous preparation. Camille researched Vincent's recent business ventures. The Hawthorne Hospitality Group had expanded aggressively, acquiring boutique hotels across the country. This Portland dinner was to woo investors for his largest project yet, a revolutionary concept combining luxury accommodations with immersive culinary experiences. "How ironic," she murmured, developing a menu designed to unsettle him subtly. Each course would contain an echo of dishes she'd once created for him, transformed but with lingering familiarity. Thursday arrived with unseasonable rain, turning Portland's streets into reflective mirrors of neon and headlights. Camille watched from her kitchen window as sleek town cars deposited Vincent and his guests at Reverie's discreet entrance. He looked essentially unchanged, perhaps more distinguished at 47, silver threading his temples, his posture still commanding. Power suited him like the bespoke charcoal suit that emphasized his broad shoulders. "They're all seated," Dominic reported. "The big boss ordered your tasting menu with premium wine pairings." "Perfect." Camille tied her apron with deliberate slowness. "Theo, fast asleep at my sister's place. She'll keep him overnight as planned." She nodded, centering herself. "Then let's begin." Course by course, she sent out her carefully orchestrated narrative. First, blackberry spheres that burst with the same flavor profile as that long-ago soufflé. Then a deconstructed version of the truffle pasta she'd made the night of the thunderstorm, culminating in a dessert featuring the exact rare bourbon he'd shared with her that evening. Through the kitchen's one-way viewing panel, she watched Vincent's expressions shift from appreciation to puzzlement to disturbing familiarity. By the final course, he was distracted, answering his companions in monosyllables, his eyes frequently drifting toward the kitchen doors. "They're asking to meet the chef," Dominic announced as the dinner concluded. Apparently, the Hawthorne guy specifically requested it. Camille removed her chef's coat, revealing a simple black dress beneath. She unpinned her hair, letting copper waves fall past her shoulders. "Tell them Chef Mila would be honored," she said, her voice steady despite her thundering heart. She stepped through the kitchen doors into the dining room's warm light, 5 years of silence about to end with a single revelation. Recognition Vincent Hawthorne was not a man easily surprised. His success had been built on anticipating markets, reading people, controlling variables. But as the woman approached their table, recognition hit him with physical force, a sensation of vertigo followed by absolute clarity. "Good evening," she said, her voice carrying the same melodic lilt he'd forgotten he remembered. "I'm Chef Camille Foster. I hope you enjoyed your meal." The investors murmured appreciative compliments, but Vincent remained silent, his amber eyes locked on her face. She had changed, a newfound confidence in her posture, a serene authority in her gaze. This was not the young sous chef who had stood nervously in his penthouse 5 years ago. The flavor profiles were hauntingly familiar. He finally said, his voice carefully neutral. Camille smiled, a small private expression. "Food has memory, Mr. Hawthorne. Sometimes it remembers things we've forgotten." One of the investors, a silver-haired woman with shrewd eyes, leaned forward. "Your restaurant is extraordinary, Chef Mila. Vincent tells us he's been trying to secure you for his new venture." "This is actually our first encounter," Camille corrected gently. "Though Mr. Hawthorne and I have history," Vincent's knuckles whitened around his water glass. "Perhaps we could discuss that history privately." "I'm afraid that's not possible tonight." Her composure remained unshaken. "I have prior commitments." The dining room had emptied of other patrons. Only Vincent's party and 2 staff members remained when the kitchen door swung open again. A small boy with copper curls burst through, clutching a worn, stuffed dinosaur. "Mama!" Aunt Penny fell asleep, and I wanted to see... He skidded to a halt, suddenly shy in front of strangers. Camille's professional mask slipped for the first time. "Theo, honey, you should be in bed." Vincent's gaze fixed on the child, specifically on the boy's distinctive amber eyes, mirror images of his own. The room seemed to tilt beneath him as 5 years of denial crumbled in an instant. "Everyone," Camille said with remarkable steadiness, "this is my son, Theodore." The investors made appropriate noises of delight, completely unaware of the seismic revelation occurring before them. Vincent remained frozen. A man witnessing an alternative universe collide with his carefully constructed reality. "He has your eyes," the silver-haired investor remarked to Camille. "Actually," Vincent found himself saying, "I believe those are mine." A charged silence fell. Camille gathered Theo against her side. "It's getting late. Dominic will see you out and handle payment arrangements." She turned to leave, but Vincent stood abruptly. "Camille, wait." "Not now." Her voice was low, for his ears only. "Not in front of him." Vincent watched helplessly as she led the boy, his son, back through the kitchen doors. The investors exchanged awkward glances, sensing the unspoken tension. "Quite a talent," one attempted. "You should definitely secure her for the new property." Vincent nodded mechanically, his mind racing. How had he not known? How had she built this success while raising his child alone? The child he had denied was his. After settling the astronomical bill and making hollow promises to call his guests tomorrow, Vincent found himself alone in the empty restaurant. Dominic approached, his expression carefully neutral. "She said you can come up. 3rd floor, end of the hall." He handed Vincent a key card. "The service elevator is this way." The apartment above Reverie was modest, but warm. Exposed brick walls, shelves overflowing with cookbooks, and evidence of a child everywhere. Colorful drawings magnetized to the refrigerator. A small pair of shoes by the door. A half-completed Lego structure on the coffee table. Camille sat at a kitchen island, a glass of red wine before her. "He's asleep," she said without preamble. "I'd like to keep it that way during this conversation." Vincent remained by the door, suddenly uncertain. "He's mine." "Biologically, yes. Why didn't you tell me?" Her laugh held no humor. "I did tell you. You said, and I quote, That's not my child. The words, his words, hung between them like smoke. Vincent moved to the island, keeping its wooden expanse between them. I thought you were looking for money, she finished. I remember your assessment of my character quite clearly. He studied her face, searching for the anger he deserved. Instead, he found something worse: indifference. What happens now? Nothing happens now, Camille said calmly. Theo and I have a good life. He doesn't need a father who had to see his face to believe he existed. Vincent flinched. I have rights. You waived those rights 5 years ago. Her voice remained even. But if you're determined to pursue legal channels, be prepared for paternity tests, publicity, and explanations about why you're suddenly interested in a child you previously denied. The threat was implicit but clear. Such a battle would damage his carefully cultivated public image, possibly jeopardizing his current business dealings. I don't want a legal battle, he said finally. I want a chance. Something flickered in Camille's eyes, the first crack in her composure. A chance at what exactly? To know him. Vincent's voice softened. To make amends to you both. She studied him, chef's eyes that missed nothing. Words are easy, Vincent. I learned that the hard way. Then let me show you. Let me earn it. He hadn't planned to say these things, hadn't known they were within him to say. Camille was silent for a long moment. Theo has swimming lessons Saturday mornings at the community center on Madison Street. 10 o'clock. If you happened to be there, I couldn't stop you from introducing yourself as a friend of mine. She stood, indicating the conversation was over. What happens beyond that depends entirely on you. As Vincent rode the elevator down, he felt something unfamiliar. Not the cold calculation that had driven his success, but a desperate, burning need to not fail at something far more important than business. Tentative steps. Saturday arrived with Vincent sitting in his rental car outside the community center, 30 minutes early, questioning everything that had led him to this moment. In the passenger seat lay a small, carefully wrapped package, a children's cookbook he'd found at a local bookstore, featuring recipes designed for parent-child collaboration. He'd spent the intervening days in a haze of disbelief and research, canceling meetings to read about child development milestones for 4-year-olds, trying to compress 5 years of fatherhood into 48 hours of frantic preparation. At precisely 9:55, he spotted them, Camille in casual jeans and a sweater instead of Chef White's, holding Theo's small hand as they approached the entrance. The boy bounced with each step, chattering animatedly about something Vincent couldn't hear. His son. The reality of it struck him anew. Inside, Vincent found a seat on the observation benches, far enough from Camille to respect boundaries, but close enough to see Theo clearly. The boy was fearless in the water, following the instructor's demonstrations with determined concentration. He has good form, Vincent said quietly, finally approaching Camille midway through the lesson. She glanced sideways, acknowledging his presence with a small nod. He's a natural. Loves anything that involves movement. Like his mother in the kitchen? A ghost of a smile. Perhaps. They watched in silence as Theo practiced floating on his back, his copper curls darkened by water, his face a study in serious effort. Does he ask about his father? Vincent ventured. He did, around 3. Camille's voice remained neutral. I told him his father lived far away, doing important work. The kindness in her lie struck Vincent unexpectedly. Thank you for that. It wasn't for you, she clarified. It was for him. When the lesson ended, Theo spotted them together and bounded over, water dripping from his small frame despite the towel draped around his shoulders. Mama! Did you see me do the starfish float? All by myself. I did, sweetheart. You were amazing. Camille knelt to his level, helping him dry his hair. Theo's curious eyes shifted to Vincent. Who are you? Vincent knelt awkwardly beside Camille. I'm Vincent, an old friend of your mom's. From the restaurant? From before the restaurant, Camille supplied. When I worked in New York. Theo considered this information with surprising seriousness. Do you cook too? Vincent laughed, unexpectedly charmed. Terribly. I can barely make toast without burning it. That's sad. Theo's frankness was disarming. Everyone should know how to cook. It's important. Maybe you could teach me sometime, Vincent suggested, glancing at Camille for permission. She hesitated, then nodded slightly. Vincent brought you something, Theo. Vincent presented the package, watching as small fingers tore through wrapping paper with enthusiastic efficiency. A cooking book. For kids! Theo's excitement was immediate and genuine. Look, Mama, there's dinosaur pancakes! That's wonderful. Camille's eyes met Vincent's briefly. What do we say? Thank you, Mr. Vincent. Theo hugged the book to his chest. Can we make something from it today? The question hung in the air, directed at both adults. Camille's lips pressed together in momentary deliberation. Actually, she said finally, I need to prep for tonight's service. But perhaps Vincent could join us for breakfast tomorrow, if he's not too busy. The invitation, conditional, cautious, felt monumental. I'm completely free, Vincent said, perhaps too quickly. Full circle, the crisis erupted without warning. A front-page expose in the Wall Street Journal alleging that Hawthorne Hospitality Group had knowingly contracted with suppliers using exploitative labor practices. Vincent's phone exploded with calls from the board, legal counsel, and PR consultants, all with the same message. Damage control required immediate action. We've prepared a statement, his communications director explained during an emergency meeting. It shifts primary responsibility to the regional management team. 3 VPs are willing to take the fall. Vincent stared at the draft statement before him, suddenly seeing it through unfamiliar eyes. 3 loyal employees, scapegoats for decisions he had personally approved in pursuit of cost efficiency. 6 months ago, he would have signed without hesitation. Business was business. Sacrifices were sometimes necessary, but now Theo's voice echoed in his memory from their conversation just days earlier. Mama says we always tell the truth, even when it's hard. I won't sign this, Vincent announced, sliding the document away. It's dishonest. His executive team exchanged alarmed glances. Vincent, his CFO began cautiously, the financial implications are significant, I know. Vincent stood suddenly decisive. Draft a new statement. We acknowledge the failure, take full corporate responsibility, terminate all problematic contracts immediately, and establish a fund to compensate affected workers. That could cost us the Portland project, someone protested. Investors will pull out. The Portland project, his visionary concept that would have placed a Hawthorne property 3 blocks from Reverie. The project that might have finally impressed Camille with his business acumen. Then we'll find investors with stronger ethical standards, Vincent replied, surprising himself with his certainty. Schedule a press conference for tomorrow morning. Later that evening, he found himself outside Reverie after closing, seeking something he couldn't quite name. Camille let him in, concern evident when she saw his expression. What's happened? She led him to the empty bar. He explained the situation, watching her face carefully. The board is furious. Some are calling for my resignation. But you're doing the right thing, she said simply. At considerable cost. Camille poured 2 glasses of bourbon. I remember a man who once told me that financial gain justified extraordinary measures. Her eyes held no judgment, only quiet observation. He seems to have disappeared. He needed to, Vincent admitted, accepting the glass. He wasn't someone a child could admire, or a woman could trust. Something shifted in her expression, the last walls of caution beginning to lower. Theo asked about you today. He wanted to know if you were going to be at his school play next week. What did you tell him? I said I thought you would move mountains to be there. She hesitated, then added softly, I believe that now. 3 months later, Reverie closed for a private event. The intimate space had been transformed with twinkling lights and simple wildflower arrangements. In the kitchen, Camille put finishing touches on a special menu while Theo, dressed in his first suit, solemnly arranged napkins with painstaking precision. Is it time yet, Mama? He asked for the dozenth time. Almost, sweetheart. She smoothed his copper curls. Are you ready for your very important job? He nodded with 5-year-old seriousness. I practiced with Mr. Vincent yesterday. The door chimed and Vincent appeared, looking uncharacteristically nervous despite his elegant suit. In his hand was a small velvet box. "The guests will arrive soon," Camille said, brushing imaginary dust from his lapel. "The investors are excited about the new ethical hospitality concept." Vincent captured her hand. "I don't care about the investors tonight," she smiled, the expression now easy and genuine. "I know." The evening unfolded like a perfectly choreographed service, investors and friends arriving for what they believed was simply a celebration of Vincent's new business direction. Only Camille, Vincent, and Theo knew about the velvet box, or the question it contained. After the main course, Theo solemnly carried a special dessert to the center table, a blackberry souffle identical to the one Camille had created years ago in Vincent's hotel. "Kitchen, attention, please," the boy announced with practiced importance. "My dad has something to ask my mom." The room quieted as Vincent knelt beside Camille's chair, opening the velvet box to reveal not a ring, but a small golden key. "5 years ago, I made the worst mistake of my life," he said, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. "I didn't recognize the most precious gift someone could offer me." Camille's eyes glistened as he continued. "This key opens the door to our new home. Not just mine, not just yours and Theo's, but ours together. If you'll have me, I want us to be a family. Officially, completely, permanently." The ring came after, a simple band that matched the key's golden hue. But it was Theo who provided the perfect conclusion, climbing onto his mother's lap as she whispered yes through happy tears. "See?" he announced to the applauding guests. "I told you she'd say yes. Now we can all have the same last name." Later, after guests departed and Theo finally succumbed to exhaustion, Vincent and Camille stood in Reverie's kitchen, where her journey without him had begun, and where their journey together would continue. "I have something for you," Camille said, presenting him with a small box of his own. Inside lay a chef's knife, perfectly balanced, with his name engraved on the blade. "For all the cooking lessons to come," she explained. "Theo insists you still need considerable help," Vincent laughed, drawing her close. "From both of you, I imagine." "For the rest of our lives," she agreed, reaching up to seal the promise with a kiss that tasted of second chances and blackberry souffle.